Hello and welcome to Live the Dream, Dayananda Sagar University's podcast. I'm Dr. Sai Prasad and I'm going to be the host today. I have the honor of hosting our Vice Chancellor, Dr. B.S. Satyanarayana. Thank you for coming, sir. He's a consummate professional who has several decades of experience in administration, academics, and in industry. It will be my privilege to seek his views on a wide range of topics, pick his brains on some current issues, and have a great 1 hour session with him. So we look forward to a wonderful session, sir. Thank you for joining.
Well, academics, we don't tire of talking.
Right. So let me begin by saying that you're going to be less than a month old in this university. And in the government, there is a very fancy practice. What are the plans in the first 100 days? What would be your plans? What are your plans? And what kind of activities do you think you're going to implement? What is the roadmap that you're going to set for the university? And, how would you assess your own leadership style with respect to the university's culture, with respect to the stakeholders, and, the multidisciplinary nature of the university?
I think it's a very loaded question in the very first instance, but it's an exciting one for that matter. And you see, we always say, well begun is half done. So the first 100 days, I believe, is truly critical because people are judgmental by design. And so they would make a call whether to believe or work with us. So it is a very critical time. And I'm very happy to say that even when I'm coming into the system, because I see that there is a great vision. See, for example, the founders, Dr. Hemchand Sagar and Premchand Sagar have clearly set a vision that they want to create a university for the next generation. Or a global leader. And in that vision, therefore, in spite of having 60 years of legacy of enabling good quality education, they have created an exclusively new university with a new foundation, new setup, so that it is not biased by the old. And that is very inspiring for me even to be part of it, because I also have some experience of, as you rightly mentioned, industry, academic, R&D, and everywhere, thankfully, I have been working on innovation, entrepreneurship, sustainability from the last 40 years. Not many people may know that, but everywhere we have worked on that is in an integrated way. So here there is a vision to create excellence. This service to society by enabling learners to excel in research, innovation, entrepreneurship, and societal engagement. And that can only happen, as you said, with multidisciplinary activity today, because we are in the age of knowledge economy. Knowledge life cycles are drastically reducing, literally come down from 300 years to 36 months. Product process will be even shorter. And in this time scale, if things have to happen, I cannot reinvent the wheel every time. And each one of us in every domain, our expertise, we should see how do we leverage each other and move forward. And so that we have an accelerated growth to match the knowledge life cycle or even product process obsolescence within 13 or 3 months. So therefore, multidisciplinarity is the watchword. And even more important, education, I think we have got out of the era of to know education, rote learning that we have been done, thankfully enabled by British, which was maybe needed for some point of time, to know, to learn, to understand, to implement, again with enabling society. Because now India is looking at Atmanirbharta. There are so many constraints, especially COVID and the current dynamic world environment clearly says, let's say it's not business as usual. Everything is transforming. There is a lot of, churn happening. But thankfully, India is endowed to be self-sustainable in every facet. Knowledge, culture, resources. And we have already been, for the last 2000 years, 90% we were leaders. Only for 20% we have come down below 25% of global economy. It's 10% of the time or 200 years. And now once again, the curve clearly shows every World Economic Forum graph every year they review it. And you see that we are going to be there in next 10 to 15 years. So the key culture we want is, the vision clearly says excellence, education, research, innovation, sustainability, because even the campus will be sustainable, net zero by 2030. And therefore, how do we bring this sustainability? How do we bring in multidisciplinary culture into the system and make it as an inherent? You don't have to create new process. All processes are only as good as the people who implement it. So I am a firm believer that processes are needed to fine tune, review, correct. But heart and passion is the key for transformation and education in the age of learners. So I think we will make sure we bring in subtle, small, because even the greatest of journeys start with one step, a simple step. Or like the cricket paradigm, the longest of innings starts with a single run. So I think the key is how do we bring in those simple small steps, because and that are integrated into our day-to-day activity without disrupting or even unduly causing discomfort to the people, but say that it firmly entrenches us or sets us in the path of making sure we are sustainable in everything we do. We link everything, teaching, learning, research, innovation, all of them in an integrated way in a project-based learning, and see that the assessment is more formative. If the three steps are happening, everything else I think will evolve from there.
So is there a, like I said, is there a 100-day plan?
Yeah, that's what
in the government parlance.
Yeah, and so I think so today, for example, today afternoon we are having a meeting on looking at how do we bring in formative assessment within our system so that we move more towards project-based learning. And the moment we put this and put an appropriate metrics, multidisciplinary experiential will come together. And maybe, for example, we had an interaction with our VP on International Affairs only yesterday. She was saying that orientation will be, each school typically has its own orientation. We are saying now how do we make it together? Because we clearly see that when we bring all this, the orientation, expose every student from every domain, they will get more excited about the university, its capability, its competence, and either they will see how can they leverage for the multidisciplinary learning project-based activity, or promote, or even bring their brother or sister or friend saying, you see, I have a great engineering school or a great design school or a journalism school, and he can simultaneously work whether he likes about medicine, pharma, engineering or design. He could even work there simultaneously with his journalism. So it will be a multifaceted benefit of starting it with the orientation. As just like for us, you said 100 days plan, the student orientation or induction has to be one of the most exciting things. So the simple steps are, can we bring in formative assessment, make sure the orientation is even more well designed to integrate students, and equally educate faculty that the formative assessment will ensure that every class gives them equal data and inputs for research, innovation, entrepreneurship and consultancy. Within these three steps, I think the whole thing will follow. Maybe I'm making some sense.
No, I think it's a very good vision for the first 100 days, bringing everybody together. And I think this is where our university also scores well, because we have so many disciplines. And typically what happens is each school operates in a silo and focusing on their own internal processes, and, internal talents and internal activities. I think bringing them together is a great opportunity. And like you rightly said, probably every school, the students of every school will talk about the other school, and that's going to enhance our admissions and future prospects. When we talk about admissions, so this is one of the concerns that the government is trying to address through the NEP, where they say the GER, the gross enrollment ratio, should go up. While that may be a very laudable proposition, there is also a concern among the stakeholders about the quality of students today. And it's not confined just to the tier 2, tier 3 cities or any of the private universities, including IITs, including IIMs. There's a big dearth of quality in the students. Now, how do you view this problem? Because as a private university, we are pushing for quantity too. So is there an imbalance between quality and quantity? Do you think we can achieve good quality while pursuing good quantity? What are your thoughts on this?
I think this is a great question because India is a huge country, and I personally believe that for every person who is successful, there is at least 1,000 people with equal competence who don't get an opportunity. And many times people don't even get an opportunity, know if there is a domain existing. Okay, first of all, it's a question of ignorance. Say if I were in Japan, every kid in its primary school itself will be exposed to teaching, learning, music. Within the first primary school to first, second or third, to music, to say acrobatics, to swimming, mandatory exposed. Here they don't even have an expose. And plus our system is for to know education. And invariably many schools have poor standards. So I wouldn't want to by default classify anybody as good, bad, ugly. I am saying each depending on the level of exposure, the level of family environment and the type of grooming that they've got, and sometimes some personal passion would have done at some level. So, and having been in education industry, academia and R&D and also for some policy planning, we have seen enough people that say some people who have been at the top of their level when they finish their school or graduation suddenly get tired out and or they're very content, or they just see that they had just got into something because of force and now they are no more interested. Whereas there are equally people who have failed miserably but suddenly get excited and do exceptionally well. So it is in this context that I am not unduly worried about the student quality that comes in. I am more worried about creating the experiential learning. Today, even product process solution, we are saying experience. I mean, gone are the days of mass production. We are bringing in customization even for a salt or a tissue paper to, I mean, car to aircraft, and experience of even the services. So in that context, student experience is the key. And the student experience will happen if with the type of infrastructure we have created in Dayananda Sagar, with the type of faculty, I think we are having decent quality of good faculty. If we can truly assimilate our capability, create a proper metrics of formative assessment to enable project-based learning and make student strong in his foundation, just even if they can deteriorate their school, and plus we cannot define from where they come, but can we make sure our fundamentals taught in the first and second year of our programs of the any degree UG ensures that the school and plus 2 foundation is deteriorated, and simple correlation to real life activities, and then project based learning makes them move towards a passion. The moment I'm moving towards my passion, say I want to read a novel, I don't mind whether it's 12 o'clock in the midnight, I will finish it, I'm interested. I want to see the movie, I'm going to stand at whatever the or the match, stay any amount of line to go there and watch that match. So that is the passion, because if the moment people move towards their passion, they will excel. And they all need, and we are the age of learners, so we only need to teach them how to learn and how to look for information. That is the pedagogy you should enable them to do with project-based learning. Once it is done, and if they have moved towards their passion, or we have shown them a direction by exposing all that is available to move towards their passion, whatever their initial scale, I think they will excel. And if that is already done with their project, their reports, their activities over the whatever, I mean, it's a case study they have done, and they can communicate it because we have also enabled them from the few years, then I think everything else becomes a bystander. Because we have been doing no education and everybody is put into one funnel and or one filter, there has been so many challenges. And as we said, we have, because of the education, rote learning of Mechanics process. So now can we, because we always, our education was Prashna and Tarka from the olden days. Somewhere Prashna and Tarka was restrained. We said, please do, follow, dictate, I mean, and repeat like a parrot. So can we come out of this is a process. The moment we do, I don't think this type of quality a student will matter. But yes, if we create the branding, then I think there will be so much of, I mean, from a demand, it will become a supply side issue. Then we'll anyway get a better quality.
Get better quality.
Yeah. I mean,
as they say, love what you do so that you start doing what you love.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a very interesting thing that you mentioned just now about the ancient systems before Macaulaay's policies came in and started influencing our education. And I think the NEP is trying to somehow bring back some of those old practices. According to you, what are the probably 2 or 3 best practices which we can take from our ancient times, which is probably lacking today in most of the institutions, which we should implement?
No, I think we have already discussed it. As you said, see, the Bologna agreement that came up, and say the Cambridge and the Italy, I mean, Oxfords of the world came up, they all essentially started with a tutorial system. Our ashrama learning was exactly same. In one-on-one engagement with the professor, living their experiential learning, doing day-to-day living, and also linking his knowledge to day-to-day living. That was what was the ashrama. And then he would, and there was no write down, take down, swim, quiz, test, and summative. He would, every problem they would analyze and see how he is, and on based on it, individual student will be relieved at different points of time based on his maturity to join the world. So with the student-centric education. That is what NEP is mandating, first and foremost, student-centric education. And as we already said, Prashna and Tarka, that was the basis. And so that is what is flipped class, blended class, project-based activity, that we are talking of modern day pedagogy. So we are already we want to bring that, we are saying content should be ahead. Bring all of this, bring in for more formative assessment, because every time you assess and you give an input, it is reused, relearning for more effective usage for the next step, so that learning is happening at every stage and it's not just to know. So that therefore that formative assessment, project-based activity brings is the next thing. And then somewhere in the last, say 600, 700 years, we have been subjugated to invaders, and anybody who wants to rule will want to change your mindset. So maybe they try to impose their way of living, their way of thinking, or somewhere even if they thought my way of thinking was superior, then see how to subjugate my thought process and to make me a parrot or a slave. So the moment I say I bring in, for example, the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, It doesn't mean I have to believe everything. See, take the best of modern day technology, use AI, ML, whatever, but then can you also rationally look at it? If I could call H.G. Wells, Leonardo da Vinci, or say Arthur C. Clarke as a scientific futurologist and their things as great enabler of vision for the future of what they wrote 100 or 200 years ago, 300. What stops us to look at Mahabharata, Ramayana, whether you are looking at psychology, philosophy, test tube babies, aerospace, aviation, whatever. See, even if you believe that it was a story, we don't have to believe anything, because education itself is about how, why, no, what, where, when, why not. These are the questions we need to ask. So we don't have to believe, but at least saying somebody 5,000, 6,000 years ago, even in an oral tradition, could imagine so many things and say that this is the way you should look at. Say whether it is right, wrong, all of them defining there is no absolute one path. Even it says it's finally self-salvation. And there is no modern, what is the student-centric education rather than saying mass-produced exam. So
Here it talks about self-learning.
Self-learning. So learning to learn is the adage of education 5.0 with empathy and link to society rather than only selfish motives. So I believe these are the parameters that the new education policy is mandating. It was always there. Somewhere we became so automated like production machine. So they're saying, please become human again, which is the education 5.0. So I think these 2 to 3 points are good enough, and they all can be implemented in any process. You don't need to create something out of the way. As I said, any system is only as good as the teacher or the people who implement it, whether it's a rule, the regulation. So if the teacher can absorb this and excite the student, sky is the limit.
Do you think the same principles can be used in any discipline, or is it, for example, there is a thought that says science or engineering should be more rational, and these are thoughts that should not get into science. There's always this debate. Some of it may be political, but I think there is a general feeling that if you are in science, if you are in STEM, you have to be more rational. You should not depend on some of these ancient thought processes and wisdom. Whereas in management today, it's increasingly being used, where when you're trying to solve a problem, the first thing they say is identify the people behind it. Especially if you look at some of the businesses that have failed, it's the people and their decisions that are behind it.
Always.
Right. So I think there is a bit of a difference in implementation, or can we use a one-size-fits-all kind of strategy?
See, I think foundation principles don't change. So the philosophy is learning, and learning to use what we know for betterment. Whether it is for my own betterment, for my family, for my local community, or the global good. Incremental improvement. And sometimes when it collectively many people do, it shows an exponential scale. When it can be done at a more bigger scale, everybody can do it in an incremental way. So somewhere I'm saying, like production and quality control, it is saying how do we link the two? When you just whether it's technology, so I could be in sociology, psychology, I could be working in journalism. Nothing stops me to leverage AI, ML, and all the tools. But when I'm doing it, because the tools are only limited by the inputs given to it. Even say the large language model for deep learning and AI, ML, it is limited by the parameters already fit in. So it can only do something, but it can never exceed the human being and his limitless thinking capability, or bring in his own personal experience to bring empathy and sustainable issues, or say more societal greater good. So data is critical. Inputs are critical. Technology enables us to analyze them and get inferences or trends in mass action in terms of anomalies, problems, or even say some unique trend. But the solutions can be beyond that also. That is where the human being comes in. And see, all of the modern day problems have happened because it was only technology agnostic to the social sciences. We lost ethics. Basic humane consideration was lost. So now that is why the education 5.0 clearly says how do you bring in that is where even saying bringing in even the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, because it was always sustainable. It was always, when we say Sarva Dharma Samanvaya, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, people did not know what was the globe. But still, if somebody could say 5,000 years bigger, or if you could say Prajnanam Brahma, knowledge is ultimate. So, as one of the 4 Mahavakyas of the Veda, it means there was a clear thought of knowledge is critical, but then also contextual usage. So when you bring the two, it means you cannot leave away history, philosophy, science, sociology, all away from the curriculum. So it has to be for holistic development with even the sustainable development goals. If we cannot bring the two together, and if I'm foolish, and see, all the frauds happen more with educated people. Sorry, no disrespect to our community. I mean, see, more frauds have been done by white collar works today, and whereas more ethicals and more integrity is followed in a rural person. So it means we lost that social connect. So it's up to the teachers now to, that's where the multidisciplinary projects, so can we create a matrix of foundational skills, character skills, cognitive skills, and integrate them, so all of us sit together in our assessment of project-based activity. Then social sciences by default would be an integral part of, I mean, and anyway, say soft skills of communication. So all that integrated in such a way that they are seamlessly integrated. So it's only a question of change of mindset of the faculty, and they need to understand, and that, see, everybody is, I cannot say, oh, so English professor, see, I mean, I might still have limitations in my English. English is not my native language. And so for some, so he could come and help me make it better. I mean, maybe I could be saying some word which is not convenient to someone. So he could say, please, don't use a more generic word. So therefore, it's our question. And as we said in the very beginning, the pace at which things are changing, none of us can learn anything, understand everything. And we want to still create change. So we need to open up our mind, link everybody, and only then we can truly enable the type of sustainable development which looks at every aspect of development in a holistic way will happen. So I think we have to come out of a delusion that yes, we need technology mandatory for accelerated pace, more efficient, optimized use of everything. But at the same time, it has to be human. Human, I mean, human or the life at large. Because see, when we say we had 33 crores or 330 million God, whether it is a grass, whether it is the elephant, whether it is a rat, whether it is a snake, or a tree or a river. So the clear thought was, please respect every living creature. So that was all, the sustainability was built in, but we lost because somebody told you you're an idiot, you're a snake charmer's world, or you're a rope climbing tricks. So now how do we come back to the reality that take the best of modern technology? And we have shown we are good adapters. So even if we don't have core technology, but whatever is available, whether it is sending a rocket to Mars, or whether it is launching missiles, or whether it is even say COVID, when we are way below in our say human development index or healthcare indices of the world, way below in the rank. We showed how could we do it in scale with heart, mind, and soul put together along with technology. Right.
So as they say, I think the human beings are more valuable than all the wealth of the world. That's what they say. Men are more valuable than all the wealth of the world. And then, despite all the changes in technology, AI, and everything, in fact, I think the focus today is increasingly turning towards human behavior. Because sometimes it's a little funny when even in AI, when they say robots are behaving like humans. So the whole cycle as if is coming back to square one. That's the and as a corollary to this discussion, despite the excessive and some of them say very exaggerated focus on artificial intelligence today, even people like Sundar Pichai and the others of Satyanarayana have come and said, yeah, we are developing it, but we really don't know what to do with it. So that seems to be the general trend. It's a great tool, but no one really knows what to do. So how do you think other disciplines, for example, management, humanities, social sciences, behavior, psychology, how do you think all this is going to adapt to this new reality?
I think, as we said, multidisciplinarity or an integrated, holistic approach is the only way forward. So if I'm in sociology, so there are so many government policies, so much of data is on the web. What stops me from leveraging this tool to analyze this data and look at the anomalies, look at the unique outshoots where things have turned up well, and then say, what can I now add intuitively as additional, because as I said, the tool is only as good as the framework it has been given. But then we have 360 degrees. So it may be looking only from 10 degree, 20 degree or 180. I still have another 180 dimension add that only I can add because the tool cannot do beyond the data it is given. So that is where they come in. They look at the data, they analyze it. They can read from history, they can look at their own imagination or their passion to enable something for the society and say, how do I bring it into it? And so their interpretation with a positive connotation, how can they bring it? So whether it's sociologist, or whether it's a psychologist, again, because so much of technology is making people isolated. We are in the age of nuclear families. So now how do you even indirectly say today, therefore, it's just somebody going and sitting with a grandfather, grandmother is a new business. Not just geriatric care. Just companionship is a business, a service model evolving.
Ratan Tata, in fact, had started invested in a business.
Yeah. Like so taking a dog for a walk itself a business. So I think the opportunity is truly mind-blowing to bring the human, because the moment I say experience, so whether it's product, process, or even bringing in life experience. See, grandmother talking to grandchild is lost in the nuclear family. I mean, kids interacting with each other because they're only playing with machines is lost because everybody is in their own silo. At least in the bigger, richer people are in their own condominiums, so they don't even interact with each other. So therefore, there is a huge amount of opportunity now to see what technology is enabling as comfort. Where am I losing my core living capabilities? I mean, personal, interpersonal communication or life experiences of learning or empathy, sympathy, or even say looking at say the original culture which brought all of this, sharing them. So I think it's a question of both sides have to open their mind. One side, STEM people have to also look at it. Here they should, oh, he doesn't know something about philosophy, literature, or he doesn't know this theory about Socrates or Plato or whatever. Because I'm maybe a nutball technician. So you need to understand that I bring in something on the platform where you can leverage it to give a bigger platform, whether it is for Shankara or Ramanuja, or say whether you want to look at Socrates or Plato or whatever. How do you bring it? Or Sanatana, whatever. So therefore, where we need to start talking first in academics, because we are privileged people. We have everything, and again we are allowed to do whatever we want to with lesser accountability. So I think it is the onus truly is on academics to see how do we bring this together and create the excitement of working together. The moment it happens, it will have by default, because I am sure that for sheer lack of time I don't want to elaborate. See, there have been so many projects. For example, simple razor blade. A traveling salesman couldn't do a shave in a train. So he said, can I build a blade which will not be a knife, but which will have a handle and only one edge? And the same company became Gillette. And so then somebody said, okay, for better shaving, I will add 2 blades. But then administrator simply, while they were having a review meeting, joked, why don't you have 3? But the joke turned into a better 3-edge blade, which is now making so much of billions for Gillette. So therefore, there is no constraints on ideas and knowledge enabling from any. Are we open to all the dimension is what we need to do.
So I think this multidisciplinary approach, like you rightly said, is going to give rise to a lot of innovation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I remember there was a time when in the 60s, 70s, when the Western music had a lot of influence on Indian music. You may even recall this movie Shankara, which actually touched upon it. So fusion music became a craze where people started mixing both. And that's how A.R. Rahman and a whole lot of other people.
Even from Ravi Shankar onwards, the Beatles and all of that, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi to current day A.R. Rahman. Yeah.
So the same.
Sorry, I'm old vintage.
No, old is gold. Old is gold, and these are the things, some of the things that are still applicable, sir. Because today we are talking about the same things. Only thing, probably the field is different.
Yeah, absolutely, very true.
And experimentation, innovation, and these are all things which I think that's where our university also has a big role to play.
Huge opportunity being within single campus or very close proximity campus.
Right. So in this context, let me ask you another question on research. Because generally the refrain is India does not have a research culture. That we accept things, we move on, we really don't question, we really don't have the ability to think critically, or we really don't apply our minds. Though, like you rightly pointed out, the earlier Vedas and Shastras or any of the ancient texts, it actually encouraged the process of inquiry. And inquiry is research. Now, today, we can see that it's affecting academics in a big way. On one hand, you have government regulators who are saying research is important. On the other hand, you have people who view this more as a job without really applying their minds to research. And this in some way affects all the universities' outcomes, processes, etc. So how do you think this research culture can be inculcated?
I think finally research happens, serious research, only when there is passion. And passion can only come when somebody is excited about something uniquely. And that, as you said, what happened was, over a period, we were into rote learning. And the education of to know was good enough. There was no need to go beyond to know, to even understand, because I could repeat as a parrot and get a job. But then now machines have come. There is no scope for a click of a button. I get million information that my to know ability is gone, dead and buried. So I need to learn, I need to understand, I need to move forward. And the moment I start understanding something, information with experiential learning should lead to somewhere inquiry. The prashna tarka. So that prashna or inquiry itself did not happen because teacher said, Kane, stop, don't ask, this is what I said. So now the information should lead to inquiry. The inquiry with more experiential learning, that's why we are saying multidisciplinary immersive experiential learning, should now lead to ideation, excitation and innovation. Now, once that is done, if you now go and implement it with further level of experiential learning at the higher stage of your learning, so product, process, solution. But then when you do it, can you bring in the sustainability goal, empathy? Whether it's user experience, sustainability, circular economy, all that parameters, just you put a series of simple steps, questions, and see that your curriculum, as I said in the beginning, a matrix which addresses foundational skills, character skills, cognitive abilities, along with all this question of, say, empathy, because those are some of the other skills inbuilt into it. So can I build them as a matrix and say, am I addressing this into the why, what, why, how, why not, where, when, all that. So these questions as a simple checklist, and make sure it happens in every class. Teacher is no more talking, because again, we simply forget higher education is not teaching, it's a lecture. Teaching is for the school when I have absolutely no cue. Here it is a lecture. I give a brief overview. The teacher gives a note. Student goes back with this tutor or with this experiential learning and assignment start, because its ability to learn, unlearn and relearn is the watchword of again education 5.0. So in that environment, he will analyze, come back, and so therefore blended classes, flipped class. So if we tailor our process in such a way and link it to faculty excitement, if say 5 people are teaching subject in journalism or in medical, say in physiotherapy, say it could, and again a project-based template where the assessment could, which could be across all the school. So nothing should stop them to say, even if I'm doing physiotherapy, to say, what is the yoga connotation for this rehabilitation? What is the medical instrumentation available in electronics for pressure, for for releasing stress? So so all of them, so it says medical instrumentation for stress relief. Everybody comes in, even the Ayurveda or Nadi Vaidya can say this is how the pulse. So you have pulse oximetry to you have, BP pressuring. So you can link all of them, capture some of them, create a device which would integratedly capture a Nadi Vaidya to a stethoscope, to a pressure gauge. So what stops us to do that? So the moment we start thinking holistically, put a question again without knowing anything, start only, see, I should have big aspirational goals, but start with simple, credible steps of learning, because every project again starts somewhere in the mind. So I don't even have to have a tool. Today there are so many, I can do mind exercise questions and just stick it on the board. From there, can I look at an open source simulation, because we're in the age of digital twins. How much can I simulate all scenarios or variations? And from there, then see, what do I have to do a proof of concept? Because Einstein once said, the most complicated of things, if it cannot be said in the simplest of way, I don't understand what I'm doing. So we need to, that's why keep it simple, stupid, as I said, in that way, how do we keep it simple, link it to fundamental, the most exciting new things? Project-based activity, bring inputs. I don't have to know. I have my expertise, bring generic awareness, student brings his own knowledge. Then when we start discussing, analyzing, looking at new things, looking at specification of existing project, your solution, your directions will evolve. And then like somebody with a theory can say, what is the theory doing? So research will evolve if we can bring the joy of learning.
I think that's the buzzword.
Joy of learning and passion even into people. See, I could have come into electronics without any interest in electronics, because that is where I'll get a job. But then if I'm interested in music, nothing stops me from looking at signal, noise, materials, all of them, and say create. See, as somebody said, just by the vibration noise that was coming in the aircraft, this flat speakers have been produced. So you can now have a wall hanging which is also a speaker. So anything that can limit is only your imagination, but openness of mind, willingness to learn, and start with strong fundamentals and simple questions.
I think some of these things people have experimented and found that music can help plants grow. Similarly, music can help patients to recover faster. They talk about vibrations, which is something I think what the Vedas and Upanishads also spoke about. The vibrations that help a human mind to evolve and become better. Now, is there a problem in the school education? Because are we trying to intervene a little too late in the system at the college level to try and implement this? Should this happen more at the school system, where if there the students are encouraged to think. And that's where, like you rightly said, they are not encouraged to think. The rote learning comes in. How do I
And
pass
even the university, they're not encouraged to think.
Of course, that is there. But perhaps
Yeah.
at the school level, if this culture is brought in, it will probably help us to get a better crop of students who are already thinkers. What would you say?
No, I think what you say is absolutely true, but I can't change the whole world. Okay. And a few leaders can make a change. So when you look at a country like India, 1,500 million people plus today, how many people come to higher education? 40 million. So there is already 1 in 1,000. Then how many people come to an institution like Dayananda Sagar? I think they will already become 1 in 10,000 or 1 in a lakh. So 1 in 100,000. So they are already unique. So if we and everyone can be today, influencers are everywhere. We are in the age of social media and influencer. So can we now orient this one person who has come to be, irrespective of what is, again, because a unique advantage is knowledge life cycles are today very short, things are changing very fast. So can I make him relink to his fundamentals and to his roots? That's why when they say Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, when they say, bring in sustainability, or bring in again as a school fundamentals to PUC fundamental, and then from there say your domain fundamentals in the program, whether it's journalism, or because each thing has some structured process to some core activity. From there, then move to your passion. So the moment you orient and say, then I think it will lead to a positive retaliation and a huge cycle of expansion of capabilities. So because if finally, if they will tomorrow become a school teacher, they will do the same teaching. Now the problem is everything is substandard. The degree holders, when you say 90% of people are unemployable, so now whether he becomes a teacher, whether he becomes an engineer, whether he becomes a manager, his capabilities are very limited. And therefore, it's a very vicious circle that is happening. So I think we need not, and that's why whether you said about quality of the score of the input student or quality of education, yes, we want it. If the government can enable it, if they can truly hire people on merit, because again, I don't want to talk about other things, but so many parameters go into the type of recruitment happens in schools, the type of salaries given, private and public. So that is beyond our control. But I don't say it's beyond salvage. But then we can do wonderful things if we can, in the small set of people, because if every one of us can influence 5 people, it's still a huge sphere of change. So I think now we will have to see how do we, within our constraints or within our I would truly say we are privileged to have this environment and this opportunity. Every student who is going to come here to DSU, he has to understand that this is not off the stuff available everywhere in the country. We are truly creating a unique experiential learning platform and a multidisciplinary platform, creating maker space, whether you are a medical doctor, whether you are a journalist, whether you are a design scholar, and also to work towards your passion. Even if you had come here by accident to computer science or journalism because you didn't get anything, you could now go to your passion. Nothing stops a journalist to write everything about medicine or write everything about, say chemistry, plants, or about automobile if it is his passion. So, and see what is happening in the EV space, what is happening in the aerospace launch in the department or satellite launch, and say how all of that leads to say he is looking at electrical mobility. Talk about it. So we are creating a unique platform. The onus is on us, faculty and our people, to communicate to the world at large and students that see this is not a platform that is easily available. Don't unduly believe. Today in the age of startups, you see big companies are falling and new ones are forming up. So we are like a new startup, but with a clear vision to say how can we become a Stanford of the world in next 15 to 20 years, 10 years old. Next 5 to 6 years, can we be that? Is the type of vision which things are being built. So it's a learning experience for us and the learner can be absolutely sure he is going to get way beyond capability here to learn, provided he is willing to learn. And they have to get out of the mindset of marks. They have to truly get into this mindset of learning. And marks will happen by default. The moment you learn, assessment will show you have understood something, marks will happen. So can I bring that mindset in? And that is the focus of the teacher. And again, as I said, whether the student comes with whatever grade, whether he has come because his parents have forced them because that is his business and they want him to study, he or she, it is agenda, today it's all equality for all. So onus, so that's why I say the teachers have a ringside view to learn and they are being paid to learn. That's a unique privilege. And we are in a college, we are a university like Dayananda Sagar, where founders have a vision to create a next generation university which is ahead of the curve to make India great again and deliver services to society. So each one of us have to take that ownership. If we are only going to do what is told, then I'm just a servant or a slave. Sorry, no disrespect to anybody, but I'm a glorified coolie. So how do I move out of it to become the leader?
Become leaders and become thinkers,
Thinkers,
original thinkers.
Leader itself means he has something ahead of the curve to show others
Right.
will come. By the way I speak, way I do, people will start believing in me. And designations do not define a leader. I mean, leaders have to happen only, as rightly said, by their thought, their process, their action. And they should be in a position, and gone are the days of do it like, I mean, Kane. It is truly, as even the Prime Minister once said, servant leader. So you need to go to the ground, whether it is a 36,000 feet overview when you're talking with some strategy planners, or whether it's a nut bolt or a nano material or nano level measurement, you should be able to handhold and enable people to work. And that is the only way transformation can happen, because the pace again is too fast, and we cannot wait for somebody else to learn and come and make things happen. We should be willing to learn, and that's in the age of learners. So that is the excitement, and but that's the opportunity. Hopefully I made some sense of what I'm saying.
Absolutely, sir. It's very insightful. So you are exposed to multiple cultures, academic, administrative, as well as industry. Japan, for example, Cambridge, Europe, US, India. How would you compare and rate the faculty resources as well as the students? Do you think they are better in some way? Do you think others are better in some way? Where do we lack, and what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses?
I think, as you rightly mentioned, plus and minus exist everywhere. Life is far more comfortable and well organized, say, when you are in a developed country like Japan, or really, of course, now England is going slightly in lower curve, but it is a relatively a more secured life. So people even come into education with a specific motivation and aspiration, and not that blindly they are forced into in education. And the professors who come also, because are people who have specific interest in that domain, or at least have developed an interest. I say that it is, whereas in India it is like the arranged marriage. Suddenly you see somebody or say, this is where you get a job, this is the girl I see, so yes to me, I am marrying her, whatever. So now you need to start loving once you get an arranged marriage. There they have come with design or with love or a passion. So they are professionals to the true sense. They don't need supervision to work. First and foremost, the student comes with a passion. Here, we are an aspirational country. We are willing to work, I mean, dog's hours to do, if I am assured of some even basic capability of living or a basic promotion, with or without passion. So we are exceptionally hardworking. We are very tolerant. We are very accommodative. We are adaptive also. But somewhere I have not realized my potential or my passion or my aspiration, because I am in such a level that I simply want to go to the next level. I don't have the time to think, the luxury to say, it is like saying, if I want to appreciate classical music, first I need to get ingrained into it, otherwise I can't. So here, and it's a mad race, even to be in the same position, because there are so many people. As I said, for every good competent person who is successful, at least there are 1,000 people who are equally competent or even better. So it is competency, time, space, mentoring, all of them cumulatively play a role, but it's not, I wouldn't want to say it as luck, but chance also has a role, but therefore here it's a struggle. And so people are still not able to view that, say, I should move towards my passion, and if I do that, as you said in the beginning, do something you love, everything else is a bonus, will happen. So that is where I think the university comes, and somewhere the teachers also, again, no disrespect to teaching communities, that academic profession, once they were the Matru Deva Bhava, Pitru Deva Bhava, Acharya Deva Bhava, Guru was in an exalted position. But we have ourselves, no, we cannot blame anybody for any situation. I think if I go by the edge, say, I mean, we are always responsible in every situation. We can only excel ourselves if we have to move forward. I mean, competing with anybody, it doesn't, our own. So we have denigrated the teaching position to such a level that, see, now nobody wants to come here, even if they have a passion, because they have life aspiration or other family commitments, they would go to something else. So teaching profession has been denigrated, but now slowly with the government, everybody realizing, say, when Abdul Kalam said India a developed world and knowledge economy and all that in 1990s, most people did not believe. He said India a developed world in 2020, but at least now the Prime Minister clearly sees that by 47 we will be a developed nation, or even before. So this thought, then therefore when people start coming to a profession by passion, or once they have come like arranged marriage, maybe it is ownership on, say, because I am a facilitator. See, I don't have to today mandatorily publish a paper for my living. I don't have to mandatorily, do some teaching to go from fundamental. But then, can I now facilitate my colleagues like an arranged marriage to get excited? about his job. Say what is the facilitation you need for things to happen, so that they understand and truly they're all competent. Because again, the most substandard student, when he goes abroad, suddenly he becomes overnight a leader. So it's the environment ecosystem.
The context.
Yeah. So can we facilitate that to enable the teachers to become professionals? Can we excite the student to rise to his passion or move towards his passion? Again, excellence. Our vision says excellence in teaching, education, research, and so that word has to be embedded in every process that I do. It's not be all and run all. And it has to be that. Therefore, there should not be any issue of passing. When I say in the result, there is, 40% people have not even passed. Somewhere I think I as a teacher has failed. See, as I said, we're not
onus is on the teacher.
Onus is on the teacher. Yes. And we all other facilitators have to see that how do I first enable the teacher? If the teacher is well enabled, motivated, even with the limited system, sky is the limit. If they are not enabled, if they are not provisioned, they are not excited, you bring in the best state of art also, things can go down the drain, or it could be very limited productiveness will be very limited.
Yeah. In fact, I think in this context, I would like to share something with you. This happened with a very close friend of mine. He is a senior professor, and he was recruiting some students, some final year students of a very prestigious college. And then he asked them, "Why have you applied to a university?" And their response was shocking. They said, "Sir, this is the last resort. We have tried everywhere. We are trying everywhere. But you know how the job market is. So this is more like an insurance. This is the last resort." And he was a little shocked because he said, "See, they are approaching teaching not as a first option, not as something that they're going to love, but because they have nothing else to do, they're getting it."
Yeah. And they've done a PhD accidentally.
No, they've not. No, they've not done a PhD.
Oh, okay.
They are freshers from college.
Okay.
The final years.
Oh.
And then when he asked them, would you do a PhD? We'll see how it goes. So his point was, when they're getting in, there is no vision. And if we have a system which does not, like you rightly said, which does not excite that person or give him that vision, it's going to be problematic to the students and the entire university ecosystem. Right? So I think that is something which all of us, I think, have to.
No, that is where when we say you say Cambridge and Oxford, or Stanford and MIT, see that we have to create that culture of bringing in excitement in everybody who comes in by choice or by accident. So somewhere they should be able to realize themselves. See, our Shastras and Purana also say self-realization. And the self-realization, and so that is where is moksha. Moksha doesn't mean death. It is in my day-to-day life, am I enjoying it every step? Okay, it is not after my death that what I do. So that was always there. That's why I say, how can I bring, I don't have to create a new course in Indian knowledge, Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. I don't have to create a new course on sustainability, net zero. But in everything I do, can I say where is, in that matrix of assessment, can I link all of them? Add that as just one sentence. I mean, when I start doing one sentence, I may be excited by just one aspect of it and start going deep into it through research. So I'm saying, what stops my physiotherapist teacher to simply say, look at a few major well-defined yoga book, rationally approved, and then start referring to it in their research. And then say, or look at, say, Ayurveda and say, this food will enable this. So if you're going to do sports medicine, without drugs, you can do this. Just start citing it. So it doesn't mean that you have to create no English translation alone, because everything is available on the web. But start looking and start citing it. If once it is an authentic source, because again, it's an authentic book and an authentic information. You say, this is a thought, right or wrong is even a different issue. At least there is a thought process that is existing. So now can I look at it? And so do an experiment within your class if you are teaching, sports medicine, or if you are teaching physiotherapy. Say for rehabilitation, say, can you look at this food? This is within the 4 people in our patient, because we have a 300-bed hospital, 1,000 people visiting every day. So can I do that as part of the exercise? This is not a very complicated one which will go into all the what you call the various ethic process, or we can even comply to all the ethics process of testing. But even create, because finally we have to bring in again standards, ethics. So that's why these are all parameters I can teach without even having a subject, whether I'm teaching automotive electronics, electrical mobility, chemical processing, biotechnology, or software. See, with the moment, he should even be able to tell somebody that, see, don't use, AI and ML for something which you can do with an Excel sheet, because AI ML is using so much of computation time, space, energy, that it is energy inefficient, and you have only so many parameters, so you're good off doing with an Excel. So that's being green computation, just in energy saving alone. So that is, therefore, saying everything compartmentalize or isolate, then nothing will work. But the moment you bring in holistic integration, things could happen. And that should lead to the excitement. Again, somewhere if people are excited, then how do they move forward with that is a thought.
So here is a question which I would like to look at you as an outsider. There are so many problems that society is facing. Take some basic problems in which every Bangalorean will crib about, which is traffic, power cuts, a whole lot of issues. And there is a whole lot of research that goes on in several areas. There are so many startups. Right behind us, we have HSR Layout, which is literally called the startup hub within Bangalore, Kormangala and HSR. But yet, we always see that there is some gap between the startups, the businesses, and their thought processes, and what society really needs. There is always a difference. So, are our startups using the right guiding principles, or are they looking more at valuation, building something, and then getting into a kind of a rat race without really, solving fundamental problems? The reason why I also ask in this context is some of the comments that even some of the union ministers made, that yeah, we do have a startup culture, but none of them is really making a mark or an impact. As an outsider, how would you look at this?
I think unfortunately there is no binary systems anywhere. Always there is shades of gray. From having nothing, at least now there is a mental orientation. See, startup was looked down.
Correct.
If I were saying I'm doing a business, it was a dirty word. I mean, especially in the middle
He
class.
didn't get a job, so he's doing
it's
something on
useless.
his own.
But then now, say, again, business or startup, again, whether it is service or new product technology, it is great. See, just because the service industries have come up as startups, because all of them are imitation of something that is happening somewhere with a few, their own integral capabilities or adaptation, cost arbitration, or which has enabled these service industries to come. They have today, first and foremost, opened up the mind for everybody. Even if it is a passion for money, I don't mind. At least let's say you don't have to mandatorily get a job, because today increasingly jobs will be difficult to get. Regular paying jobs, high paying jobs. People are already moving to gig working economy. Okay, so on one stage, it is enabling people to get into the service industry. But we need to understand that way back in 2000, say 10 or 12, when McKinsey came with a report which said, see, in the next, by 2030, 35, there will be $80 trillion opportunity. $40 trillion is advanced technology, $40 trillion is services. So, India unfortunately lost the production manufacturing technology bus. All our universities are next to nothing as far as, even no disrespect to IIT, IISc. See, they've struggled to figure in the top 200. And in spite of they enabling students to go to the best of the institutes, we cannot name 5 product or 5 solutions to have come out of just our IIT or IISc, which have gone national, not even global. I'm only saying national. Can anybody by default say this is a product because it happened from IIT? Or even if, say, for example, a product like Stand Life came out with this gene mapping, when most people would not know. I mean, what was $1 million? They made it 10,000. Today it is less than 1,000. And today, recently, also only last week, there is a paper which says how, the Indian genetic makeup. Even earlier, 10 years back, also we found out 6 to 7 variations, and that whole of the global genetic variation is available, and all that. Now, even more data is coming, and you can literally hold it with a pen, and you can get your genetic makeup. This type of technology happening. But then nobody knew. So it was maybe ahead of the curve. A computer was made at IISc. Before the tablets came, but India was not yet ready with the technology to enable it, so it went to the dustbin. But just 7 years down the line, suddenly everybody was holding a tablet. Computer was becoming obsolete. Of course, now everything literally comes on a mobile phone. So the startup culture is because that is where there is a money one, and also some opportunity they have seen for service, they have come up. It's good. But it's why did the technology not happen is because education did not empower us. See, when IIT, IISc cannot, they only train glorified, so no disrespect to our West people who have gone and become essentially glorified coolies. Even the people who say we are in the top 2% of citation, I say how many of them in India have enabled even one MSME, have enabled even one product process improvement. It is always supportive research. I mean, there are a few exceptions, are not the norm. But then when 50,000 people say we are in the top 2% of Stanford research, how many of them in their universities, they've all been doing supportive work for somebody at the cost of government of India. And or the industry anyway doesn't need research, because industry again are still in the colonial mentality of being glorified, traders.
So that was my other question actually. There seems to be a huge gap between education and industry in our country, quite unlike the West. So I think that's a very big factor.
Absolutely. See, because the industry is a glorified trader. Market is there, kal paisa aayega, I'll do invest today. But then innovation and research needs some amount of gestation period. But the moment it starts returning, it gives exponential return. Just for example, say Philips had a LED laser and writing for DVD players, but today it goes into everything. They have stopped producing DVD players 15 years back. Even today they make $100 billion, hundreds of millions of dollars of royalty. They have stopped it. Nobody is working on it. But they just green the patent and they make royalty, or many other companies. So we don't understand the need for intellectual leadership, intellectual property. Again, everything cannot be intellectual property, where something in society should even be, for example, when the government said whether it is the UPI, whether it is the Aadhaar and all, even say our COVID type treatment. So somewhere they generalized it because it was a greater good, but it helped many people to build many more services. So some things have to be patented, something we need to look at greater good, but we need to again, as I go back, Prajnanam Brahma, respect knowledge, respect intellectual capabilities. We lost that. We were happy to be glorified traders, glorified coolies. So that is where the technology innovation, product process didn't happen, because academic community only does, if at all they do research, it is for the
for publication.
No, publication, or it's a supportive work for an international company or a university. Academic institutions also see, here there is a vision to create in next 15-20 years a global university, which will do research, innovation, product, process, solution, enabling service. But again, no service completely is charity. There will be no free, there will be some ROI which will help us to sustain the system. So, but everybody here, sir, how do I now make the money only of the student? So research was not enabled in the institutions, private and public, for different reasons. Government has literally stopped paying for research, and even the research grants that they do is a modified budget substitution for research. See, they will say, okay, there is a fixed grant, but they will say it is only for IIT, IISc and top university. So they should have actually given that equipment to them anyway in their budget. But in just saying we are doing research, they put it in a different bracket and give that money as a part of grant. And so suddenly that institute gets 5, and that 5 crore grant can only go to IIT and NIT. It cannot come to you, and it is indirectly, I wouldn't say fraud, but it is a very wrong word. But
taking from this pocket,
put it here, and again it should have been a basic infrastructure development.
Correct.
And it was not a competitive project. But then that is shown as a grant, and suddenly in NIRF ranking he gets a 5% hike.
They have an unfair advantage in a way.
Advantage, see, but then they can't change so much. We have an ability to change. We have ability to adapt. So tomorrow, if Professor Dr. Premchandra wants to invest and they can somehow manage, they can invest 10 crores overnight, and they don't have to worry about quotation and quality and all that, but get the best product, the best overnight. But that is where I say the onus now is on the teachers to leverage it, produce outcomes in all its facets, whether it's student, whether it's industry related. Industry doesn't want it because they are in the glorified trader mode. So we need to again go to them and show the value that they should believe in us and come to us. So in a way, when the minister says quality technology did not happen, it's right. But they cannot exclusively therefore blame the startups which have at least created the mindset to become an entrepreneur. And it has created thousands of jobs, whether it's the Olas, the Ubers, the Swiggy. See, it has still at least created dignity for labor.
Yes.
Okay, nobody calls somebody as a server today. Or sweeping products coming to clean roads. That's a trillion-dollar business. Just cleaning, waste management, mail and sweep. So many companies have come today. So therefore, I think, sorry, maybe I have spoken too long, but it is very critical that we understand. Finally, it has to start with education. First, create dignity for labor, because if there was no dignity for labor, that's why skilling became a dirty word. Now we are saying knowledge and skill have to go together. I cannot know everything about aerospace without driving a flight, or I cannot know everything about swimming without even ever entering water, or even cycling for that matter. I know every theory, but I can't even sit on a cycle, let alone balance myself. So when I do that, my innovation in cycling will be greater. My innovation about swimming will be different. It's a type of product I bring up. So these are...
Finally, it comes down to
education.
knowledge,
Yes.
knowledge creation,
And
knowledge
it's
building.
bringing or linking knowledge and skill seamlessly through experiential learning.
And I think this is where technology also plays a very big role.
So when none of this ecosystem exists, how can a technology company come?
Correct.
See, Apple comes with a product. Within 3 hours, China will have an alternate product. Japan also will have its own variation added into the component, or some Samsung will do that, or LG will do it in Korea. But can we even in next 10 years build a product half of Apple? See, even today semiconductors, we are in the small 5%, but it's a good beginning that at least we are assembling and packaging. We are anyway doing design, but most of the earlier design was again somebody's bidding. We are only doing using our cost of labor arbitrage and our ability to think dimensionally and do the simulation and iteration and solve for a given specific parameters rather than system integrating a new product. So that when you do project-based learning, the orientation to system integration with multidisciplinary learning will happen. Then you can create next generation products. Otherwise, it becomes very tough.
And I think the industry and the government should come forward. They should come at least 50%.
See,
universities go 50%.
Industry and government, see, everybody wants to take the easiest route. Nobody wants to burn their fingers. And industry, again, when Indian market also is so cost sensitive, they are very content. See, we didn't have PPE, kits for COVID. But within 3 months, when the market was there, we became world leader.
We actually exported.
Yeah, that's what I said. See, therefore, the industry has to also think that, say, can I at least invest 0.01 or not 1% in research? They don't even do that because their orientation is the slave mentality of being a trader, trading across the globe, leveraging low cost. So no disrespect to them. See, they're wonderful managers. That's why the whole country today in say 10-15 years has gone from 2 trillion to 4.5 trillion. So that's a great thing. All this transition happened because at least they were able to do this trading and business. But then to become knowledge leaders, they need to certainly orient themselves to a certain extent, as you said. The government also, like it's the fingers, no? They all have to come together, or two hands come together for capping. Everybody has a role. But again, the first person who has to start it is the guru. And from time immemorial, it is academics. Even Chanakya, identified a cowherd and made him Chandragupta, and he became the emperor. So,
the kingmaker.
Kingmakers. So, kingmaker or product innovation makers, whatever you want to call, for transition, transformation, knowledge and learning is the key.
I think that's the role the governments also should play. Become enablers, become facilitators.
Government always has to be facilitators. The leadership should understand that. But even if the government, see, Mahapadmananda was horrible, but Chanakya could think of it. So because we have the more freedom to think, nothing stops me from. So the academics have to do that. And we as academics have honestly failed very badly, especially the bigger institutions have become glorified. I don't want to say, they only being supporting research. They hardly do anything for India, Indian relevant product. I'm saying do 80% supportive research to create your brand, but at least 15% have you done for product, process, solution, because you have existed, your existence was completely on government sources. Whereas we, at least the private institutions, are self-funded. Again, we pay for even our accreditation, our provisioning, our approvals. So, and we are enabling the society at large. When there are enough people who are getting fee concession, we are being paid. Quality is the next issue, but if all those private institutions had not come, can the India today have been at this level? Just depending on 10-50 colleges. So,
I think that was a major step, privatizing education.
See, of course, even there, maybe it is not a part of our context. Maybe it was made with the thought of, looking at India's aspiration, people's aspiration to learn. It was for monetizing. But anyway, in everything there is good and bad. So how do we take the best out of it? Because predominantly it is politicians. For every good visionary academic institution builder, like say here we are saying, how do we do it in 15 years? There are many who only built it because they got a free government land or a subsidized government land, take a process. But I think that I don't want to digress from it. But the policy has helped. Privatization has helped. Even the 91 transformation from all central government. But so I think we are transitioning. We are learning on the job. So we don't want to blame anybody. But we have a wonderful opportunity truly to not just leapfrog, but truly pull what. But we have to change our mindset. And finally, whoever is there, the first person who has to change is the teacher.
Do you think these rating agencies, because many of them say these are Western concepts which are quite alien to Indian teaching thought processes, do you think these rating, NIRF, NAC, are they enablers or are they more of a hurdle?
I think everything again comes
Because
with
there
the
are both
mindset.
insider and outsider viewpoints.
Yeah, absolutely. See, they are definitely gamed to enable. So when QS sets, when it only had a global ranking, suddenly it made Asian ranking, suddenly it made Indian ranking. It was to make money and looking at our aspiration to be ranked. But then, see, everything, as I said, there are two sides to every coin and there is not again complete binary. And what are they raking about? Those are the basic NAC, NBA are the basic governance, minimal government structure or process that an academic institution should have. So, if I had that process, if I document my process to see how I can improve myself and seriously leverage it, I can improve. My system will improve. And it will become agnostic to say whether it's Professor Sai Prasad or Satyanarayana. It will be now system driven, process driven, data driven, along with original innovation, passion and intuition. But then if it is not there, then it becomes agnostic. Only when you are there, something can happen. If you are not there, everything goes down the drain. So they are enablers if taken in the right spirit, built as an integral part of the system to facilitate. But they become disablers when we don't build a data structure, we don't have an ERP and LMS which is effective. Every time in your middle of the class, I say, oh, AICT has asked me, Karnataka government has asked me, I mean, physiotherapy council has asked me, and I ask you data, disrupt your work, then you become disillusioned with it. So I need to first educate you also about, when we say, we are saying AI first, digitalization first in the vision of the university. Say, and because again, we are in the age of digital twinings. So everything has to somewhere happen with digital enabling. So we need to understand it is facilitating us. So again, awareness, appropriate implementation, then data will come by default. We can send our data to anywhere, and if we are good enough, they will anyway rank us. I mean, see, for example, there was recently this IIRF ranking something. See, many institutions who did not give the ranking are again ranked in the top. But many people also maybe facilitated something and tried to be there somewhere. So we shouldn't be unduly worried about it. Can we build a process and a system which is robust, which is enabling, which is, so that we are sustainable in the long run? And again, when I say sustainability, it is sustainability of financial resource first, sustainability of human resource next, and then sustainability of the whole environment and society at large in all its facets. So we need to create that. If the moment we are doing it, I mean, all this anyway will come, but it has to be by default. Just like marks need not be the be all and end all of an exam, but it should be an indicator and a facilitator. But again, it is never absolute. I mean, see, how can anything, see, because we are in the age of, that's why, see, the very fact that we are talking of formative and summative, so much of learning happening in the knowledge creation era or knowledge economy era, it is not stagnant that I have done and it's the end of the learning. So it is a tentative indicator of certain level of competence or capability, right or wrong. Somebody would have claimed it, you have earned it, or by process, doesn't matter. So, but we have to be again there because perception is also critical. So I can't wish it away, but it should not be my be all and end all of survival. I should say, how do I, because it's a minimum requirement, how do I go beyond that and excel? That by default, everybody will take me.
So I think that's the mantra, like you rightly said. These are minimum standards. We have to aim to go beyond this.
When I'm nowhere, I'm looking at least being there.
At least.
Maybe it's my limited thought process, but
no, but I think that's a very good way of looking at it, because a lot of people are working towards it, not planning to go beyond it. I think that's where the challenge is. So as we come to the end of this session, quickly a couple of more questions and then we'll wrap up. In the next 3 years, what will be your vision? And in the next 5 to 10 years, what will be your vision for Dayananda Sagar University? I'm asking this question from two perspectives. One is academic and the other is non-academic, completely non-academic. What will you?
See, the academic perspective, as I said in the beginning, is first and foremost bring in the change of mindset to people, especially the faculty and equally in the student, because both have to work together. We have seen most of the Nobel Prizes, you will see there's a young faculty and a senior person working together. He brings his unbiased knowledge, exuberance, energy. He brings his knowledge, intellectual wisdom and capability to interpret. When they two work together is where innovations happen. Universities are in the business of knowledge creation, comprehension and dissemination. Not just advocacy or dissemination and certain comprehension if accidentally happening. So We are in that business. There is a well-defined vision by the founders. They have invested with a passion, with service orientation, or they have put their money where their heart is. But then, and given us a platform. So as facilitators, see, anybody who comes in some of my position, like whatever I am, or you are heading something, we are facilitators. So how do we facilitate everybody to understand this vision first? And that understanding of the vision and enable processes, enabling system, so that they clearly understand that they cannot work standalone. They need to leverage their student, they need to leverage their colleagues, they need to leverage the system, first for their own personal gain, progress. And they become professional, they will enable everybody else to do well. So can they understand in the immediate, in the 100 days also, if I can do, or at least in next 2 years, so that you can, whatever your passion in research or innovation or industry engagement or even teaching, how can you excel? I want to see if every faculty here can in next 2 years realize that he can do whatever he wants to, even doing what the university asks him to do, if he can plan it and integrate it. That thought process, if it comes in the academic faculty, and if they can then work to some of the matrices we are working on, formative assessment, I think every class will lead to students learning outcomes in terms of formative learning enabled, all foundation to cognitive to characteristic or societal skills. And every class should lead to publication, patent or consultancy capability to even building maybe a next generation product idea or a lab idea for the teacher. So, and then if they work with their colleagues, the same, because 3 or 4 are working together, each one of them should have, if there are 3 or 4, it means they should have 4 more outcomes in terms of publication, patent or products or consultancy or revenue generation for them. So it has to become holistically, because the teaching profession has teaching, research and service. In every aspect of it, it should become holistic for the teacher, and they should be passionate to drive it to the student to make him a truly enabled learner. This process, if it happens in the next 24 to 36 months, or even if say 50% is happening, I am sure, because today even the IITs or IISc have roughly 1.5 to 2 publication per year. Quality not substantial, quality publication. If we truly do this, I assure all my colleagues that they will have 4 to 5 publication every year. The moment I am doing that, I am in the NIRF ranking, I am in the NAC ranking, I am in many times I have seen companies have just looked at some paper published there from a paper professor. They come for consultancy in most of the parts of the world. So then when Indian companies are also now struggling to transform, they will come, consultancy will happen. But this foundational change has to happen. So this is what we are looking at in the next, say, 24 to 36 months. And by default, in 12 to 18 months, we should be in better ranking. I say it's not the be all and end all, but very small steps. Say, so how do you please use this? And say a first year multidisciplinary assignment should lead to say 10 ideas for the next semester for product, process, publication or engagement with local industry. So these are small steps we build. Say you just do this, it goes one step at a time alone. Don't be overwrought by a bigger idea that, oh, I will have to be a Stanford of the world. No. But even for the Stanford of the world, you have to start with one step. So those steps are finally quality teaching, student understanding, both of you working towards data creation or idea creation. The data and idea, can you convert it to consultancy, publication, papers, whatever. How you do it, or a book. Or even a survey paper to say a policy document. All that are feasible. But we have to work. So this is what we want to do mandatorily. And if we do that, we will definitely be, I think, even in 3 years, within the top 100 or top 50 nationally.
Just 3P is a very nice, catchy phrase that you have given. Product, process and publication. So it's, I think.
So, and if we do that well, and truly again create appropriate international collaborations and engagement, both with industry and academia, in next 5 years, nothing should stop us to be in the top 100 or top 200 in the world, or within the top 50 of the young universities in the world, whether it is QS or Times Higher Education. But then we need to do it with ethics and integrity. Every one of us have to own it and realize that each is benefit for each. Tomorrow I don't like Dayananda Sagar, I could go out. But then my contribute, and everywhere I work with 4 people, that whatever I have done, there's a team here, that wherever I go, even if I don't have anything, I can work with you, I can still create outcome. See, when a professor in Stanford, Princeton, Cambridge, MIT, say he goes to Saudi Arabia, he goes to Singapore, he goes to Malaysia, he goes to Japan, Korea, and say he fakes team only 10-15 days in a year, and he's hardly 10 days in his campus, but he's still guiding 10 people, he's doing $10 billion of a project, and he's also having 30 annual publication of the highest order. because he's collaborating. So can we not start collaborating with ourselves? And also when we do that, make some solution at least for the local. Even I say 80% even you will do that Stanford ranking supportive research, because immediately your industry doesn't need it. But 20% if every one of us do, it's a huge transformation of education enabling the society for sustainable development, for education, for poverty alleviation, for health, whatever goal. So I think broadly I want to see it as process enabled outcomes. So in 3 years we should mandatorily be within top 50 or top 100 in the country, and definitely in the top 10, 15 in specific domains if feasible. And in next 5 years or 60 months plus, we should look at being in the top 200 in the world or top 15 new emerging universities, whatever the ranking is, whether it's QS or Times. And it is absolutely feasible with the type of infrastructure, the type of people we have, even whatever we don't. I'm not even looking at any more investment. If we do this, next things will follow that we'll build on it.
I'm sure it will happen under your leadership, sir.
No, I think it's all of us working together. I mean,
yes, of course.
We are facilitators and we are willing to work with any of you. I can come to your floor and learn and help you if you're doing something. I'm willing to do that. But then finally, it is the teacher has to take his ownership for his growth. And if he truly grows, everything will happen.
So finally, sir, is there a message you would like to give the students? Is there one slogan that you would like to give them which they can carry like a thought for the day with them every day, and then think about it and then follow it, which is going to lead them to, as the Vice Chairman always says, from goodness to greatness?
Yes.
Is there anything that you would like to give? One thought process and one slogan.
Well, thought process or slogan, we are in the middle of the knowledge economy. Okay, so knowledge, prajnanam, brahma is one of the first Mahavakya of the Vedas among the four. So they have now a unique opportunity to learn. So please make use of this time to truly learn knowledge and skill and use them, first and foremost. And plus, especially keep on revising your fundamentals from your school to PUC to your first and second year fundamentals in your domain. So learn well to understand and use it first, then aim high, because the whole world is your oyster, because the whole world is looking at India. And so the moment you do this, the world is your oyster and you can create your pearl. I mean, that's the only thing I want to say. But learn with strong foundation, understanding and ability to use it.
Thank you very much, sir. It was wonderful having you in the session.